All right, now, everybody. Quiet, listen to me. We're going to start a show. Now, some of you people have been with me before. You know it's going to be a tough grind, but we're going to have a show.
Everybody, what up, what up, what up? Christmas is over. My birthday is over.
Sayonara, sucker.
Sayonara, sucker.
It was wrong, it was stupid, and I'm trying to be a better person.
That was the birthday celebration. I did the best I could. Good morning to Kim. Good morning to Albert.
Morning.
Good morning to Tony.
Morning.
Yeah, love having everybody here. It's pretty cool that we're doing live shows all week, I think.
Thanks, Tony.
Yeah, Tony's helped make it happen. Tony is sitting on all of our video today. You've also got pictures you want to share. Some pretty cool pictures have come from Buffalo, New York. Albert has...
Kim, how are you?
Kim is here, of course, I mentioned.
Albert, thank you.
Albert is here with any number of things and can report firsthand on delays. There's still huge travel delays, and we'll get to that in California as well.
It's not a good thing to be working at Southwest.
No, Southwest is having a rough ride. When the CEO has to come on to apologize, that's
My
not
bad.
good.
I'm sorry.
Exactly. My bad. I'm sorry. Well, it's funny. He said, "My bad. I'm sorry."
My bad. I'm sorry.
And then he said,
"Y'all can all go to hell, and I'm going back to Texas,"
which is wild, pretty wild. I got some great emails and some great stuff into the show. Thank you, everybody who was so nice to wish me a happy birthday and all that stuff. But we had a fun birthday show, and it's fun to be on live, and we want to show you that we're committed to this, to this channel and committed to this show, and that's one of the reasons that we were on all last week live, and we're on all this week live, and we'll try to produce live shows for you between 10 and noon, live on YouTube, here on this platform. We're still in a free fall on YouTube. This channel has been demonetized because of a clerical error. There are 2 accounts, and they want us to close one of the accounts, and we try to close one of the accounts and says, you can't close it because you've got another account.
We have to be at the end of this almost, do we not?
Yeah, you'd think, but there is no expiration on it. I don't know.
God.
So I was actually going to get a lawyer.
What?
Yeah, to try to help us because it's that complex. I mean, you're telling me that you're holding up a lot of money. I mean, I'm in a free fall now, and it starts to affect our ability to do the show. So that's what's happening. I mean, just telling it straight. Yeah. But anyway, I mention it in the context of our show only to say, if you want to step up, and if you can step up, and if you haven't yet stepped up, go to themarkthompsonshow.com. This is the only way you can contribute now. You can't contribute through super stickers and super chats on this channel. Nikki has got it. You can do it that way for her. Chip's got it. You can do it that way for him. And most channels like this have it that way. Ours continues to be frozen out right now. It will change. But go to themarkthompsonshow.com and hit contribute. There you see it. It'll look like that. And one of those tabs is Patreon, and one of those tabs is PayPal. And that's where you go, and you make a contribution. It's simple. You get your credit card out. It'll say Polaris Media or whatever. That's our company that just handles the money for the show, and that's it. It's really that simple. TheMarkThompsonShow.com. The thing about YouTube is it's sort of frictionless. You know what I mean? It's when you have to go through multiple clicks, people typically don't do it. That's why the YouTube super stickers and super chats are so easy. But in this case, you just, if you would.
Hey, you sound like a YouTube expert now.
I've sadly become a YouTube expert. It's true. Albert, did you tweet that we're on the air, sir? Did you do that, Albert?
Albert, thank you.
I'm currently doing that right now.
You're currently doing that right now. Okay, thank you very much.
There's a couple delays.
Okay. You can open up an account, but you can never leave, says SF Tesla. Ain't it the truth?
Never
leave. So try not to hit you over the head with it, but we do appreciate your support. Now,
tell me about the birthday party.
There was a quiet dinner last night and at which I drank, I like my adult beverages, so I went for, a couple martinis. Usually one martini is about good. I went for two, and then I didn't even get to finish the second one, to be honest. I mean, I knew my limit. And then the owner of the place very generously said, want to send you a round of drinks at the end of the night. So I'm already like topped off, if you know what I'm saying.
Right.
But I went for the after dinner aperitif, you know what I mean? Yeah.
Okay.
So I did, and I was, but I was okay. I mean, I was okay. I feel remarkably well today. So it's cool. Yeah. Everything's.
So was it like a cavalcade of stars that paraded through the party, or what happened there?
No, I did run into Jeff Ross, and people know Jeff Ross. He's the roast master general. Do you know he does all the roasts on Comedy Central, and he's very funny. I bumped into him, but that was about the limit of the star power. It was pretty limited. I also met the editor of at Vanity Fair last night. Just bumped in. She was celebrating a birthday at the next table, so that was kind of fun. She's the fashion editor, I should say, not the when I say editor. She's the fashion editor. All right. What's happening in Buffalo, New York? It's pretty brutal. By the way, a shout out to Buffalo, New York. Here is my AM Buffalo. Can you see this? That's my AM Buffalo mug that I got when I was working in Buffalo, everybody. Yeah, how about that? I know, pretty cool. You're not going to get that on any YouTube channel, okay? That is 30 years old, something like that, maybe more, and still tastes great. I mean, it's not like drinking from a Mark Thompson Show mug, but it is very, very strong. Very good offering. Anyway, Buffalo is used to snow. Even when I worked there, they talked about the legendary blizzard of 77. That was where people abandoned their cars, and people will abandon their cars in Buffalo to the snow pretty much every season. It does happen. But 77 was considered the apocalyptic blizzard of all time. This is worse. Deadly blizzard. I think you can give me some of the specifics, Kim, but I believe just in the Buffalo region, Western New York, 25 people have lost their lives.
Yeah, we have the mayor of Buffalo confirming yesterday 7 more deaths in his city. So,
Tony, do you have that? We can run a little bit of this piece just to give you the visuals. It's frightening, and there's a no travel edict right now. Because so many people are getting stranded on the streets for so many days now.
They want you off the road.
Yeah, yet another day that you're not allowed on the roads. Go ahead, Tony. Let's roll a little bit of it,
Amid
please.
frantic rescues and mounting loss, this morning Buffalo still not out of the woods. Western New York could see even more snow by tonight after more than 4 feet brought Buffalo to a frigid halt.
Nothing can compare to this storm.
The Tisdale family says they almost didn't survive after their car got stuck in the whiteout. Thankfully, firefighters came to the rescue.
They saved our lives. So many people didn't make it out of their cars. So many people didn't make it out of their homes.
The severe winter weather blamed for nearly 60 deaths nationwide. One of the states hardest hit, New York. President Biden declaring a state of emergency after officials reported more than 24 weather-related deaths.
It is painful to find members of your community that are deceased, who were trying to walk out during storm conditions, got disoriented, and passed away out in the street.
Navigating streets turned to parking lots. Authorities also facing reported looting.
I don't know how these people can even live with themselves, how they can look at themselves in the mirror. They are the lowest of the low.
This is first responders.
Stop for a second. So that couldn't agree more, by the way. I mean, people who loot during a disaster like this. That said, that is a great drop. They are the lowest of the low. If we could grab that drop, Tony, I appreciate it. I think there's a drop there. Yeah, the mayor's comments out of context, I think, could be useful in the future as a drop. That said, it is a yet another day, as I said, of travel restrictions there in Buffalo and flights still not going in and out of the airport there. More snow expected. Kim, this is really something that it's not a one and done blizzard or a weekend. It's a continuing problem. Although I think the thaw is on, the cold that has affected so much of that region is going to slowly be replaced by some thawing, a little bit of warmer air is what I was seeing.
I'll take it from the weather forecaster. Absolutely.
The other thing I was going to mention just in the context of weather is down in Mississippi, Jackson, Mississippi, which is, as you know, the impoverished place in Mississippi. I mean, in a state that's fairly impoverished in many ways already, but they are, again, because of the cold now, they are without water. You remember how they had problems with the pipes there in Mississippi? Does everybody remember Jackson, Mississippi has had an issue with their drinking water? And now, because of this cold, they have an issue again with drinking water. The pipes aren't working. The pipes are bursting. So it's just a mess in this already, troubled place. 62 people have died in weather-related incidents across the country. Looting reported, as noted in that story. And a state of emergency has been declared that will allow them to get some financial relief anyway.
You think about cold weather, and when I think about dying in cold weather, I think avalanche, right? Or some type of incident where you're in contact with snow. But in some of these situations, there are people that are stuck in their homes with no power, no heater, no way to keep themselves warm, stuck in their cars. It's a pretty scary situation.
Some local residents recounted harrowing escapes. This is to Kim's point. One local family with young children ages 2 to 6 had to wait for 11 hours before being rescued in the early hours of Christmas Day. That was Sunday. I was basically just hopeless, the father said. He said he managed to stay warm by keeping the engine running in his car and kept distress at bay by playing games with the children.
Oh, wow. That's scary.
After spending hours with the engine running, he made the desperate choice to risk the howling storm to reach a nearby shelter. He carried the 6-year-old on his back while the 16-year-old clutched their Pomeranian puppy and followed his footprints in the snow. If I stay in this car, I'm going to die here with my kids, he said.
Yeah.
That's what he was thinking. It's something I will never forget in my life. There are storm-related deaths in Vermont, Ohio, Missouri, Wisconsin, Kansas, and Colorado. It is not just Buffalo. 250,000 homes and businesses experienced blackouts. Power has been steadily restored through this period, but still tens of thousands of people missing power today. On this Tuesday, about 22,000 people alone in Ohio. So this is a brutal situation to live through. And then what we were talking about before, and we're going to get to stories from the sky, bottom of the hour, David Cay Johnston in the next hour, who's in Western New York. I will ask him. Rochester and Buffalo, very different from the standpoint of weather. But that said, I'm sure that he's had a pretty big blast of winter in Rochester as well. Anyway, stories from the sky. We'll talk about Southwest and that total meltdown that we noted at the beginning of the show. So, and when you cancel 70% of your flights, that's a big deal. So, anyway, that's the story weather-wise. And
I, Meghan McCain, co-host of The View.
Even she was snowed in. Yeah.
I'll tell you, a lot of packages didn't arrive in time for Christmas because of the weather. But it really puts it in perspective if you're somebody who's like, oh, my Christmas present didn't get here versus I'm stuck in the car with my kids and I think we might die.
Yeah, that's there is a distinction to be made.
Yeah.
We got pictures from Buffalo. We have Buffalo viewers/listeners, and they sent us. And as I told you, I used to work in Buffalo. That's how I have this AM Buffalo mug. I was on AM Buffalo. Not bragging, just saying. It was, it was a little bit of a...
Do you know who I am?
All right.
I'm kind of a big deal.
Maybe a little bit bragging. Anyway, yeah. So they sent in pictures of the snow. Do we have those? Can we share a couple of them? This is the snow in Buffalo. Captured. Is this from Cindy? Who sent this one? Do we know? I hate to...
Let me get back.
Thanks, Tony.
We always ask, I always ask who sent the stuff, and there's always because she's got it in different places. Anyway, go to the next picture. Don't worry about it. I think it's from Cindy.
Oh, the
that's in
bathtub.
the bathtub snow. Now, do you understand what's happened there? I think the snow has come in. I think the snow has come in the house.
What, from the window? What?
Yeah, let me look at this, and I will tell you.
Or are you saving it because your water's off and you don't have water?
That I don't think it was that, but I love that thought. You know,
you got to do what you got to do to survive.
It's from Cindy, and she said, "Here's the snow my sister removed from her attic from the air vents. Couldn't open the door to put it outside, so it ends up in the bathtub."
Wow.
That's how that happened. These are from Cindy. Yeah. The other one is from Cindy also. Cindy O. Yeah, that's from Cindy O. Happy birthday, Boxing Day, Mark. Direct from Buffalo, day 4 of the driving ban. Never
Cindy,
seen anything like this. Much wilder than the blizzard of 77, she says.
Oh, man. Cindy, we feel you. Thank you for the pictures.
That is wild. The bathtub pictures are wild, too. Felix sent us pictures from Buffalo. You see the one with these are from Felix. And this is this, look at that. Look at that.
I guess we're not going to work today. Look at that.
Yeah. Wow. That just shows you. It's a huge, for those who are listening on the podcast, because I know there are people who listen on the podcast, there's a huge, essentially buildup of snow outside the garage. They raise the garage up and you just see all of this snow. That's got to be 6 feet of snow. Anyway.
I mean, that's insurmountable. I don't know how long it would take to dig your way out of that.
Insurmountable is a ding word. Yes, you're absolutely right.
Wow.
What else? Go through the other ones, Tony. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to obsess about that one. So that is snow on that has gotten into the window. Okay, that's what she said. That's snow that actually entered the window. Yeah, I'm just trying to keep my Buffalo, and you can see the white out there.
Yeah,
absolute craziness. And then that's as night falls on Buffalo, New York. Wow. Great pictures, everybody. Thank you so much for, sharing them.
I wonder where you saw the picture of this car being scraped off.
Mm-hmm.
If there's a special tool that makes it so you don't hurt the paint of your car while you're trying to shovel the snow off your car.
I think there's a brush on the bottom of it. There's like a strong
usually
brush.
It's a brush.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Thanks, Tony.
Yeah. But you're right. There's that sharp end, you know what I mean, with the sharp plastic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, you guys. I'm Californian. I don't know these things.
Mm-hmm. Well, it has been cool to get all of these pictures, even though they're, I think it shows, communities in distress.
Yeah.
It does bring it to life for us, so thank you. Yeah, we're Californians. We know flood and we know fire. That's what we know.
Earthquakes. And the occasional earthquake, right?
Oh, yeah, an occasional earthquake. You're absolutely right.
Yeah. Flood, fires, and earthquakes. That's it.
Yeah, this is true. That once the snow melts, it turns to what? Slush. Tom says, bad news, a blizzard. More bad news. 50s there this coming week for the slush-a-thon. Yeah. And this is an important point, too, just to kind of take a literally global look at this. Eric Kennedy says global warming is still a thing. It creates dramatic weather events like what we're seeing, which is true. The thing that happens as the globe warms is the jet streams begin to take on erratic and extreme shapes. And so atmospheric events become far more severe. And so you're seeing manifestations of that. Now, is that one of the manifestations? I don't know. But when you put the grouping of stuff that's happened atmospherically, from a climate standpoint, it's indisputable that the climate is changing radically and quickly, and that these extreme weather events are hitting with frequency and with the extremes that we're seeing in ways that reflect some kind of serious crisis when it comes to the globe. So I would say that is indisputable. And of course, that warming is man-made. So this is the problem with, I could never understand why anyone would live there where there's weather like that. Yeah, but let me say this. It's a beautiful community. It's kind of a big, small town, big city, but not like super intense big city. It's right there close to Niagara Falls, Niagara River, all of that stuff that is quite beautiful. It's gorgeous in the summertime and in the spring and in the fall. And I'm sure you could say, how could anybody live there, talking about California, as we burn up, as we run out of water? Right. You can always say, how can anybody live there? I was on Bill O'Reilly's show on Fox News Channel years ago, and do you know who I am? I know. It was just I got the call, and I went over to Bill O'Reilly's show, and he said, "Hey, Thompson, how can anybody live out there with it's just crazy in California." I said, "Bill, you can play that game. How can anybody live out there?" I could say the same thing in New York. How could you live there with all the issues in New York? And, you've got, homeless people living right outside of your, all the urban challenges of New York City. People live in California because it's stunningly beautiful. It's incredible natural resources. It's there's a laid-back lifestyle. There are people here who are there's a political climate that's more tolerant, and people live places for any number of reasons. So anyway,
you didn't ask him to do it live.
I should have said. And by the way, Bill,
we'll do it live.
Yeah,
I'll write it and we'll do it live.
I think that had not come out yet. Can you imagine
we'll
that?
We'll do it live.
Yeah.
I'll write it and we'll do it live.
Yeah. His books, by the way, are bestsellers. It's crazy. Those Killing Lincoln and Killing Jesus and all of those. Speaking of California,
a couple of those PR emails. On the radio tours.
He's a great interview. He's a great communicator. That's what made him so scary, I thought. In the same way Tucker Carlson is. You got Tucker and Sean Hannity. These guys are good at what they do, and that's scary. More than half of rural California now ranking very high for wildfire, hazard. For the first time, more than half of California's rural and unincorporated communities could soon be classified as very high fire hazard severity zones. This is the other side of it, of living in California. The change is largely a reflection of the state's worsening fire activity. Larger, faster, more frequent blazes, many of which are being fueled by a buildup of vegetation and California's warming, drying climate. And they say this, the increase really is reflective of what our firefighters have been experiencing over the last several years. More severe wildfires in areas that maybe historically or decades ago didn't have the same susceptibility to wildfires as they do today. The results on the map aren't necessarily surprising. They really are reflective of a changing climate and an increasing severity of wildfires. It's something that we used to talk about on the radio. Remember about the fact that people coming back, I'm talking about firefighters from the front lines of fighting those fires, said these are hotter and drier and more intense than we've ever seen before.
I think it's a moment for I've never seen anything like this.
I was just about to say.
There's never been anything like this.
There's never been anything,
Nobody has ever put something like this together.
Yeah. We've never seen anything like it before.
There is nothing in our history that quite compares
to this. Yes, I agree. There it is. So, what is this? Why would you waste your breath on? I'm always
Bill O'Reilly and Tucker Carlson.
Oh, I see. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, they're tough. Because sadly they're relevant. That's why I wasted my breath on them. But yeah, I hear what you're saying. How about the lying congressman? Oh, is it already? Oh, usually Moskowitz shows up by now. I mark the time by when Steve Moskowitz shows up. Do I have time to do the lying congressman, or should we do that next and then stories from the sky?
Yeah, we should do that. Yeah, we should get to news and we'll do that.
Okay, we'll get to. Thank you. All right, Albert's got the whole thing figured out. I don't want
Albert. Thank you.
I don't want to run in afoul of him. I will tell you that there is the story of the lying congressman. You're probably roughly aware of it, or maybe you know all the specifics. This guy Santos, but what I see in that story is a change in the way politics is being done in America, and I'll get to that when we continue. Smash the like button like a boss.
Smash it with your iron
I
rod.
need those thumbs up. It's all I have left. I'm living for those thumbs up. Yeah. I'm living for the thumbs up, people. Without the thumbs up,
that's it.
I'm not sure I can make it. There, I said it. Smash it like a boss. We'll do that story and Stories from the Sky. David Cay Johnston in the next hour as well. Thank you for being here. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for supporting Mark Thompson Show.
The Mark Thompson Show.
On the Mark Thompson Show, I'm Kim McAllister. This report sponsored by tax attorney Steve Moskowitz at 888 Tax Deal. As Mark has been talking about the death toll from the recent massive winter storm, now 63 people. This after the mayor of Buffalo confirmed there were 7 more deaths in his city. The Southwest Airlines is having some trouble. The Department of Transportation hitting out at Southwest for a wave of flight cancellations. The airline canceled at least 5,400 flights over 2 days, leaving people stranded without bags. Chaos caused by the nationwide snowstorm just rolling on here. The DOT calling Southwest's rate of cancellations disproportionate and unacceptable. Southwest apologized to customers in an email.
So they're saying essentially, let me just understand. They're saying, hey, we get it. The weather's bad, but you guys canceled more flights than the weather dictated you needed to cancel. That's what they're saying, essentially, right? That's why the Department of Transportation is on them.
That's right.
Okay. Yeah.
But even their own staff members, I know one of their pilots in SF Gate today is trying to explain the delays and the cancellations and saying it's unacceptable that this happened. So I think it's more than just the storm. It's the way they handled it as well.
I see. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Atmospheric river. First we had the bomb cyclone. Now we've got the atmospheric river here in the Bay Area. Is that another one of those? Is that really a thing kind of thing?
Well, it's another one of those things, rebranding. I'd love to talk about this more, maybe, in the body of the show. I don't want to hijack your newscast, but I would say that atmospheric river is a new thing. It just started, meaning the branding of it is that. We used to call it a pineapple connection. There's been a bunch of different ones, okay? But the phenomenon is not new, but the branding of it as such is new. I get that. Yes, atmospheric river, good for them. They caught something. The thing that is stupid that I'm okay with bomb cyclone. You want to call it bomb, but when you start naming winter storms like this is Winter Storm Elliott or whatever, please, man, that is totally bogus. It is not.
What?
Yeah, exactly. It's totally bogus. There's no. The names, I get, you name these tropical storms and hurricanes, but you're not supposed to name winter storm. You'd say the Christmas storm of 22. What's the problem with that? You know what I'm saying? You don't need, but that's, I think, an effort on the part of the Weather Channel and, related enterprises to do that stuff. So anyway, that's where I call foul on that.
Over at ABC7, they're probably throwing down in the Weather Center as to what level category storm this is. They say it's a level 3 at ABC7. Other sources calling it a potential category 4 atmospheric river.
Wow.
That is hitting us today in Northern California. This type
I
of
like the
weather
categories,
system,
actually. That does help with the severity, anticipating severity.
It's a big one. Yeah, this type of weather system could bring several inches of rain to our area. The National Weather Service says coastal areas could get up to 3 inches of rain, higher elevations as many as 5 inches. Flood warnings for San Francisco, for Santa Cruz, and other cities activated last night will remain in effect through this afternoon. High winds also possible around the Bay Area. And of course, as you see here on the Golden Gate Bridge, commuters can expect a soggy, slow-going trek.
How much rain, though? Are they saying how much rain we're going to get?
Yeah, they said coastal areas.
Beyond all the categories? And all
up to
that
3 inches, higher elevations as many as 5 inches. Yeah.
Thank you. Sorry, I missed that. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, clearly you were not paying attention.
Yes,
so
I
from
apologize.
rain to sun. Oh, isn't that nice? Look at that.
That's
That's
very
Florida.
nice.
Yeah, New York's population continues to shrink as Florida's and Texas's continues to grow.
Wow.
New
That
data
is
from the U.S. Census
Y'all can all
Bureau.
go to hell, and I'm going back to Texas.
Yeah, all right.
New York lost 180,000 people between July of last year and July of this year. Florida gained 416,000 people. Texas gained 470,000.
Jeez. Yeah.
I'll tell you what. And then there's marijuana. Yes, indeed. The use of cannabis compound, CBD, in food and supplements could soon be federally regulated. The Wall Street Journal.
Where are my weed smokers at?
Yeah, where are they?
They're all at the federal government. They will report that the FDA will decide in the coming months whether to regulate legal cannabis and whether that will be requiring new agency rules or any new legislation from Congress. The agency is looking into whether CBD, which is a non-psychoactive compound derived from cannabis, can be safely consumed daily or during pregnancy.
Seriously, what the
Yeah, that is a good question. I mean, I know a lot of people have found a lot of success with CBD, but I've not heard the government weigh in on it yet.
So let's go to Florida, to Colorado.
The science is ridiculous.
With a lot of weed smokers in Colorado, but that's not what we're talking about. This is at the site of an avalanche in Colorado where a snowboarder is dead after a group was caught in this big avalanche. 2 of the snowboarders were able to escape. 2 were buried. Both were located, but one snowboarder wasn't breathing, unfortunately, by the time he was recovered. And let's go to Apple now, because Apple is facing a class action lawsuit after a New York man alleged that the Apple Watch's blood oximeter has a racial bias against people with darker skin. The app can measure the oxygen level of your blood on demand directly from your wrist. It's available on the Apple Watch Series 6. While Alex Morales believes the watch does this without regard to skin tone, in addition to findings uncovered by researchers during the pandemic about the clinical significance of racial bias of pulse oximetry. Apple says a disclaimer on its website that the app is only designed for general fitness and wellness purposes is the key there. Oh, Tom Brady.
Oh, no. What's happened to my handsome Tom Brady?
He says he will take his time when considering retirement.
Oh, no.
Yes,
can we take our time looking at this photo right now?
Yeah, he is so dreamy.
Tom Brady.
Yeah.
Speaking on his Let's Go podcast, Tampa Bay.
Yeah.
The Tampa Bay Buccaneers quarterback said he realized when you're deciding to walk away from the game, you really have to be sure to do so. Earlier this year, Brady reversed his decision to retire and returned for a 23rd season.
Yeah.
Will happen.
He's done
next.
the double back once already. That's right. Yeah.
And this report is sponsored by tax attorney Steve Moskowitz. Of course, Steve for 30 years has put his tax knowledge to work for individuals and for businesses. If you need help with your taxes, you've got to call Steve at 888-TAX-DEAL. Also, you can see on the bottom of your screen right there, MoskowitzLLP.com. That's how to spell it. Check the website. He's there as well. I'm Kim McAllister on The Mark Thompson Show.
They had to close down an entire radio station to silence him. And now, he's here. Ladies and gentlemen, Mark Thompson.
I've told you, it's never easy being in this business.
The Mark Thompson Show.
I don't know what happened.
Are you there?
Yeah, what happened? Did it go dead for a second?
No.
I saw my life flash before my eyes on my end, but
maybe you went dead for a second.
I'll tell you what I want to do now. I want to welcome him in. He's Steve Moskowitz. Come on. Sorry to make you wait, Steve. You arrived right as
no problem at all. I was
Kim's,
interested in listening to what you were saying. People moving to other states, and by a wild coincidence, Mark, they happen to all be non-tax states like Texas and Florida.
That's
not
right.
to mention Washington and Nevada. People don't want to pay 13.3% of their income when they can legally pay 0. But guess what? You know, in some cases, California can still tax you after you've moved. You say, wait a minute. I thought I packed up and said, goodbye forever. I'm leaving. And that's that. And
they're like,
there are provisions. And I've had cases where I've had clients move as far as China and England. And California said, oh, but you still owe taxes to California. And through different arrangements that the governments have, yes, they can really collect from you if you move to Texas or Florida or Nevada. So what is very important to do is make sure that when you move, you basically follow a certain blueprint to greatly decrease the chances that California would be successful if they try to tax you. Because a lot of times what will happen is California will say, hey, Mr. Smith, nice that you moved, but you still owe California taxes. And they can really grab you if you're in another state. They say,
So
well,
you're
wait,
saying
I don't owe it. So one of the things we do is say, look,
right.
we give you a blueprint and we say, look, whatever you do, don't do A, B, and C, and make sure you do X, Y, and Z. And that will decrease the chances that California will be successful trying to tax you after you've moved. But again, I've done cases they went as far as China and England.
That is wild. You really have to make sure all your ducks are in a row before you make that move, you know.
It really makes a difference.
Yeah, the
And,
financial house
there's
has to be
nothing more
kept in order.
unhappy
Yeah.
when you move someplace, finally out of the clutches of California, and California comes along and says, no, you still owe. Now, you're not enjoying the weather here, but you still owe the taxes. And in certain cases, they can still collect them. That's why it's so very important to go ahead and do the right things and avoid other things.
Yeah. Leonard Krause says I should have contacted Steve, somebody who was burned on the move with taxes. Yeah, you think you're getting away, but it has to be all done just so. Steve can help you.
Everything else, you got to do it right, or you're going to suffer.
And
is
Steve
there a
can help you with
perfect time to
things.
move or something? Like, do you have to time it right?
It's not just the timing. It's all the other things that you're doing. There's a laundry list of factors and what you want to do. We go over all the factors with you. And actually what we do is we give you a nice rating and say, look, here's all the factors and make sure you do this and this and this. This happened to me in Oregon. California made a mistake, but they emptied out my bank account. Sorry, Leonard, that's exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Contact Steve Moskowitz for any number of issues, anything related to taxes, even what you may feel is a routine return. There are all sorts of ways that you can protect yourself and actually get government money back. You deserve that. You pay into the government. You should get the money back if it can be legally given to you. Reach Steve Moskowitz. There it's on your screen, 888-TAX-DEAL, 888-TAX-DEAL, or MoskowitzLLP.com, Moskowitz, 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 LLP.com. Next hour, Steve, David Cay Johnston is going to be by here. He just did a long piece about the Trump taxes, and I'm going to ask him a bunch of questions. Just so weird. I think it could be a big tax day, and I may have some follow-up questions that you might be able to weigh in on. So we'll look forward to talking to you next hour.
Fantastic. You know, that's my favorite thing in the world to talk about. I know taxes. How could it not be?
Yeah, Steve Moskowitz, everybody. Come on now. All right.
The Mark Thompson Show.
It was great. I loved it.
How would you handle this? We could try ignoring it, sir.
Morning.
You cannot say you love your country.
Where are my weed smokers at?
Stay at home and get baked.
What up, everybody? Hope you're okay on this wet day in California, in this snowy day across much of the nation, a cold day across much of the nation as well. Do ask you to smash that like button like a boss.
Smash it
and
with your iron rod.
give us a thumbs up. If you're watching in replay, still smash it. Smash it harder in replay. And you already sent the mayor's soundbite. Thank you for that. Tony already sent me the mayor's soundbite. We'll turn that into a drop.
Thanks, Tony.
Yeah, we'll probably get it on tomorrow. All right, let's do it right now without any further delay. Stories from the sky.
We have clearance, Clarence.
Roger. What's our vector, Victor?
Enough is enough! I have had it with these monkey-fighting snakes on this Monday to Friday plane! Everybody strap in!
Well, the business of getting from here to there over the holidays this year has been brutal. You saw, I should say, and you've seen so many of the flight delays in television reports, and Kim, of course, even covered in her newscast the fact that the U.S., in the form of the Department of Transportation, is saying that they're going to examine the large number of Southwest Airlines flights that are canceled. Between the cancellations and delays, they say it is unacceptable, the kinds of knots that this has created in travel and the kinds of problems it's created for Americans. You've got the government weighing in on it now. They canceled, to remind you, almost 3,000 flights on Monday, or 70% of the scheduled flights. They canceled 48% the day before on Sunday. That's Christmas Day. According to flight tracking, the website FlightAware, they already canceled 60% of their Tuesday flights. That's 2,400 flights today. The U.S. DOT is concerned by Southwest Airlines' disproportionate and unacceptable rates of cancellations and delays, as well as the failure of properly supporting customers experience a cancellation or a delay to begin with. They're going to look at whether the cancellations were controllable and whether Southwest is complying with its customer service plan, as well as other pertinent DOT rules. I think this is significant because you have to really, really crap on passengers before the government gets involved. Right. I mean, if you've traveled, they can mistreat you every which way. They can delay your flight. They can cancel your flight. You don't have my parents. Remember, we had them on. They were supposed to go, and KLM canceled their flight the night before. They just canceled it
with no offer of anything to fix. Right? It's just like, that's it. You're not going.
We can put you on another flight to wherever. Then you'll catch another plane in Luxembourg or something, and then you'll arrive a day late at your destination. Well, a day late. My parents were on a cultural tour. They were going to miss the thing that they most wanted to see on day one. Regardless, in this case of Christmas, I was on a flight. I'm going to see this family. This is our Christmas. And I spend it at, where? In San Diego or in Denver or in Detroit? So, there can be, and clearly there are, legitimate reasons to cancel flights related to weather. But what the DOT is saying is, you guys, this is too much. And this is beyond any kind of reasonable explanation. But as I say, they got to really cancel a lot of flights and really be out of line before the government gets involved, because I think they let the airlines get away with a lot in this country. A U.S. airline pilot adopts a dog that was abandoned by a traveler at an airport. How about that? Ooh, yeah, that's a loud bit of applause. The owner of Polaris decided to journey onward from San Francisco after paperwork difficulties came up for this dog. The puppy
left the dog behind. Ditched
him. The puppy abandoned at SFO, adopted by an air pilot. Oh, it's a nice holiday story, isn't it?
Yeah.
The young dog named Polaris arrived at the U.S. airport on an international flight, but the owner, as they call it, decided to keep traveling without the dog because of paperwork difficulties for the animal. The Animal Welfare Organization and United Airlines then worked together to find a forever home for Polaris. And Captain William Dale, a United Airlines pilot, and his family, they adopted the pooch. Yes, very exciting. According to the San Francisco SPCA, the airline worked to make sure that Polaris met requirements for entry into the U.S., like a quarantine period that they have for, that exists for all animals coming in from overseas. From the moment Polaris landed in our care, our entire SFO United Airlines team cared for him 24/7 until we were able to get permission to keep.
Ultimate ugly Christmas.
What is that?
I don't
know. Make sure that that's the doggy. I see. Yeah. Nice job. Wow,
I was trying to show you the picture, but I had the video playing in the corner of my mouth.
I love the little dog. Oh, that's great. United Airlines. We give them we give all the airlines a hard time, especially here in this segment, Stories from the Sky. But they deserve some credit for getting this dog to Captain William Dale.
Yeah.
who has adopted the pooch.
Thanks for the assist on that, Tony.
Yeah, Tony, help out. Thank you very much.
I didn't do anything.
Oh, you didn't?
That was actually me.
Oh, thank you, Albert.
Albert, thank you.
Yeah, all right. A massive winter storm that blasted much of the United States with brutal winter weather has forced shipping companies to ground planes. This has led to other problems, as you might figure. Package facilities have been closed. Trucks are kept off the road. The dangerous storm, which led to at least, all those deaths, 53, I think now, buried parts of western New York. UPS said it had service outages in 898 zip codes across 4 states yesterday. FedEx continues to expect delays throughout the day today. In Michigan, New York, Indiana, and Ohio, UPS said it would make no pickups or deliveries in the hundreds of postal codes it listed on its service alerts website.
What?
Yeah, none.
Again, perspective, right? Perspective.
Yes,
if you're waiting for that package and it's not coming, it's okay. You're not going to die in your car. It's all right.
Yeah, you're right. If you're comparing it to dying in your car, then I would say you're...
That's right.
That's something my mother would say. Yes. Well, you're just very lucky that you're not that family that came close to dying in the car. Yeah, but Mom, I really wanted this package. I mean, I've been waiting on this package. This doesn't even compare to that poor family that almost lost their lives in that storm in Buffalo.
Perhaps it's a mom thing.
I think it is a mom thing.
We're always trying to find the silver lining, make you think, think differently about things so that you'll have patience and compassion.
I appreciate that. That's Stories from the Sky for today.
This has been Stories from the Sky. The captain has turned off the seatbelt sign, and you are now free to move about the cabin.
Thank you for being here. If you're just joining us, this is our Christmas week. We're live. We were live last week. We'll be live all week this week. And you can smash that like button like a boss if you would. It helps us in the YouTube algorithms.
With your iron rod.
I will tell you, if you have an iron rod, you can use it, but there is no requirement to smash it with your iron rod. So,
oh my gosh,
just smash
are you kidding me?
Smash.
Absolutely smash.
Smash. The like button. If you're watching in replay, just hit the thumbs up if you would, please. Our monetization has gone away, as you know. Because of a clerical error, we're working on it. We will get through it at some point. But until then, if you want to support the show, you have to go to themarkthompsonshow.com. You see it bottom of your screen and hit on contribute. themarkthompsonshow.com and click contribute.
Smash it with your iron rod.
Okay, smash that with your iron rod. You can smash the PayPal or you can smash the Patreon and become a patron. All the names of the people who contribute to the show are listed at the end of the show. And then, Tony, we are going to... are we going to coordinate and get the... Yes. I want to acknowledge them on the air, too, right?
Yeah. Okay, cool. Thanks, Tony. I'm finishing it up. I've been finishing it up yesterday. I'll have it all ready for tomorrow for you.
Cool. That's great.
Thanks,
I'm looking forward to that. Meantime, there's some stuff going on, and it is bizarre, and I think it signals a change in the way politics goes down in America. Yeah.
The Mark Thompson Show.
This guy, George Santos, admits to... Yeah, what's that?
I'll delete it from the news now.
Oh, no. Well, it's pretty...
It's too good not to pass up, yeah.
It's pretty remarkable, and I think it really does point to something that I really wanted to touch on beyond just George Santos. George Santos is this congressman-elect, and there he is, yeah. He has not done all the stuff he said he's done. Graduated from college. He said he graduated from Baruch College. Said he worked at 2 major Wall Street firms. Hasn't worked at either firm. He also, and now admits, and that's why this is making news now, he admits to this all being a series of falsehoods that he was perpetrating on the stump in the run-up to his election. A lot of lies here. Educational history, property ownership. But he says, despite all of that, I'm going to take office and join the House majority. He was one of the Republican victories that helped flip the House.
Can I get that? Liar, liar, pants on fire?
Yeah, you're right.
I mean, really.
Well, he is.
Yeah, all the things he lied about. He lied about having graduated from college. He lied about his grandparents in the Holocaust. He lied about working for Goldman Sachs. How much more could you pad your resume? Then get elected
You are
and
a
then
cover-up artist, and you are a liar.
Yeah. And these are not all the same kind of lie.
Calling me a liar. Is that what you calling me?
The kinds of lies that are associated with padding your resume might include college, that kind of thing.
Right.
But the kind of lie associated with your ethnicity is a sort of different kind of lie, right? You're making up your personal history on a level that just takes it to a different place. You're trying to claim, that your family fled from the Holocaust, that you claim a Jewish heritage. And then maybe my favorite quote from him is, "I never claimed to be Jewish. I'm Catholic, but I learned my maternal family had a Jewish background. I said I was Jew-ish." I mean, that's just,
really?
Honestly, yeah, that's what the man said, okay? And
You, sir, are a liar.
So he is really another level of liar. He has repeatedly said he was religiously Catholic, but also identified as a non-observant Jew. He told his grandmother, told the Post, the interview was with the Post. And now I'm going to tell you how this all happened. And then I'm going to tell you quickly why I think it's a sign of a changing politics. But he told the Post that his grandmother had recounted how she converted from Judaism to Catholicism. Over the course of his campaigns, he claimed to have graduated from Baruch College in 2010 before working at Citigroup and eventually Goldman Sachs. A biography on the National Republican Congressional Committee website, okay, so this is the website for the GOP,
the official bio,
said that he had attended both Baruch and New York University and received degrees in finance and economics. But the colleges and the companies could not locate records to verify his claims when contacted by various journalists. They checked his name and they checked his birthday. Neither one showed up. "I didn't graduate from any institution of higher learning," he now admits. "I'm embarrassed and sorry for having embellished my resume. We do stupid things in life."
What?
Yeah, dude, this is not a stupid thing that you did when you were 15, when you were 20. This is something that you did just a few weeks ago. Okay, you've been lying about this on the campaign.
To get elected, yeah.
Yeah.
To dupe the people whom you represent. Represents, by the way, parts of Long Island and Queens when Congress begins next week, and says he will not step down. No, thank you. May have lied to get where I'm going, but I'm going.
Can you think of another candidate recently who also was tripping over lies on his way to other lies? I'm going to give you a clue.
Trump.
No, not Donald Trump.
No.
I'm thinking of...
They're looking at just social media.
That's who I'm thinking of. Herschel Walker said that he graduated top of his class at Georgia. He didn't graduate at all at Georgia. Herschel Walker said and cast himself as an extremely successful businessman. Of course, his businesses went under. Herschel Walker, a massive anti-abortionist, right? Believes that women's reproductive rights should be taken away from them by the state. He's paid for and was basically an Uber or Lyft driver for women wanting to get an abortion. He was in and out of his abortion clinics so many times he should have gotten, frequent abortion miles. I mean, again, I have no problem with going to a clinic to get an abortion, whatever. That's a woman's difficult choice that she has to make. But that Walker lied about it he lied with utter impunity and with such frequency that it was just a constant series of discoveries about what a liar he was. Then you get to, I think, Trump, what Kim is talking about, where they're huge lies, right? My taxes are being audited. We're going to talk to David Cay Johnston a bit about that, you know, the big lie about the election and whatnot. But this is what, there are two things about this story with Santos. One is that he's running as a congressman, and Congress people oftentimes get away with not being vetted by the media the way other high-profile political figures are vetted. So particularly in this new age of sort of spoon-fed media where media companies are going under and there's not a lot of real time and money to do journalism, you kind of just take a bio and a resume on its face. Now, maybe that will change as a result of the Santos thing, but it's a real failure of the media and of journalism that this guy got away with this. So many lies, lying about his background. I mean, he essentially made up a complete personal history. And it went totally unreported, as I say, because when you're running for Congress often in one of these districts, it's not going to grab clicks. It's not going to grab headlines. And as a result, it goes orphaned as a story. Editors don't really say, you know, go check out this Santos guy, you know, and make sure that all of his resume claims are legit. You just don't find that as much in congressional races because generally they lead with they're smaller districts. And as I say, there isn't general interest. So that's one point. And the second point I would make is a broader point, and that's where I bring in Herschel Walker, Donald Trump, and many others. I mean, now you have this sort of pushing of lies and half-truths. I mean, you almost would be happy to have a half-truth now. These are 100% fabricated claims. They now begin to populate politics in a way that I don't recall it ever being populated by these claims before. These things that are just totally concocted, you know. Padding a resume is one thing. I mean, again, I don't think it's cool, but it's one thing. And it's distinctly a different thing from the sort of thing we're seeing now. A total fabrication and creation of a personal history. And on the stump, you saw Walker do it. And then finally the media got hip to Walker's lies. And you saw Trump do it. And I think the media was late to the Trump party. There are some exceptions. David Cay Johnston. I think Jane Mayer wrote a little bit about it in The New Yorker. There were some big pieces on, but it wasn't on Trump I'm talking about. It didn't punch through. So all I'm trying to say is, as we enter this world of politics where if you're a media star, you've got a good smile and you can, you know, talk down whatever interviewer is browbeating you, you probably can survive with these lies. Look at this guy. He's going to be in Congress. I think it's reprehensible. And reprehensible is a dang word.
Where did we stop with, I think I know where we stopped with it, but I'm used to be, if the media uncovered something about like this about you, that was the end of your career. That was it. You left in complete and utter shame. If you remember things like Gary Hart, right? Where these moments where you're captured doing something morally unsavory. And, David Cay Johnston is making a point in the private chat. I almost want to bring, can I bring him on now? And then, David Cay Johnston, everybody, the Pulitzer Prize winner. David is making the point that the GOP should take some responsibility for this. Same thing if he were a Democrat and was doing this. Is that your point, David?
Yeah, parties used to do some vetting of their own candidates. And this guy's complete fabrication of his background combined with the inexplicable source of his funding, I think falls partly on the party. And since this was the second time he ran, it's partly on them. It's also partly on news organizations. The gay Democrat who lost to the gay, apparently Republican Santos, tried to get news organizations, including the New York Times and others, to pay attention during the race, and he couldn't get anybody to pay attention. So I'm glad this story came out. But you are exactly right. On a congressional district level, only a local newspaper would do this kind of vetting. If you're in a metropolitan area with, as the New York Times metro market is, 30, 40, 50 members of Congress, you're not going to do that. But we should always do it for president. And Trump was never scrubbed, except by pretty much me, in the 2016 campaign. He certainly wasn't scrubbed by the New York Times because an editor of mine who worked there at the time said to me, everybody knows he's a crook. And I said, no, everybody in Manhattan knows that.
Right. That's such a key distinction, David Cay Johnston. I think the New Yorkers always viewed him as a joke. And those of us who, were New York adjacent voted, but he really was allowed to get up ahead of steam with all his BS about being a successful businessman. He was anything but. Go ahead.
And no one reported on, for example, the fact that he was up to his eyeballs with an international cocaine trafficker. That's a whole chapter in my biography, The Making of Donald Trump, and did things that are absolutely make no sense whatsoever unless he was in business with him. And then what he did makes perfect sense. Nobody looked into at the time how he cheated investors in Southern California and Arizona and Florida and Colorado. And they kept calling him a Christian and didn't mention that he wrote 6 pages in his book, Think Big, calling Christians fools, idiots, and schmucks, and declaring his life philosophy to be one word that is aggressively anti-Christian: revenge.
Oh, wow. Yeah, so true. He lives by it, doesn't he?
Nobody reported this stuff. And it was one of the biggest failures in my life that I couldn't get other people to pay attention.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I mean, it's not your job necessarily to make so much noise that people pay attention. There was also and then what I want to get to, you just have an incredible takedown of what he did with the tax story, and I want to get to that because I just think it's the kind of detail that you understand and maybe can bring it home to us. But I also think, David, he was so good for business. I really just remember how all of a sudden you have news organizations that were struggling. All of a sudden they weren't struggling anymore. You had New York Times subscriptions at record levels. Same with the Washington Post. Same. You heard Les Moonves, who at that time was CEO of CBS, talking about how he was good for business for CNN, MSNBC. They all had the record viewership. Yep. So there was, I don't know if it was subconscious, whether it was conscious or what, to not, kill the goose that is laying the golden eggs.
Well, I think the biggest part of this was an inability to understand that Trump was not a politician. He was a con artist and wannabe dictator. Because if you go back and reread, and I've been rereading a lot of the 2015 and 16 coverage, it operated from the assumption that, well, he's just a different kind of politician. He's not a politician. He never did one day of public service before he took the oath of office in 2017. And the framing of who he is and his position, that's what was just completely missed. And remember, the New York Times editor-in-chief and publisher did a front page boxed mea culpa a couple of days after the election, acknowledging they had completely screwed up. They didn't grasp the frustration and anger of the people who voted for Trump, which I also wrote a great deal about why people are going to vote for him, on economic terms, on racial bigotry terms, and on religious terms, because many of the people in America who call themselves Christians are anything but, and embraced him. But the coverage of Trump in 15 and 16 was abominable. The Washington Post did a book on Trump that has lots of useful information in it, and it's a real snoozer. It is written in the most, you don't want to waste your time reading this book style I can imagine, even though it's graceful.
Yeah, I there was so much there. Actually, the Trump story is a sexy story. You do detail it in your books about Trump, and yet somehow the media didn't pick up the sexy. They like to cover the horse race. And here was a guy, an outsider, he's going to shake up the field. And he's a smack talker. And that's really fun to watch, when he's smack talking Bush and Marco Rubio on that big stage when he was first making his run. It was just good sizzle, and I feel like the media succumbs to that.
Yeah, politics reporters behave like everybody else. They respond to the incentives in front of them. And the incentives for politics reporters have nothing to do with covering policy and everything to do with who's ahead in the horse race today, despite the fact that that's kind of nonsense. We know, I just went to a speech by one of the leading pollsters in America about why you shouldn't believe political polls, because only 1% of the people they call answer the phone. And that means they're not getting random samples anymore.
They're trying to, as you know, do texting and trying to refine some of the polling techniques. But you're right. They're flawed to the point that you can see in the midterms how they had some pretty big holes in them. Although Yeah, we had Jim Avila, the former ABC senior correspondent, who's a regular political contributor here on Fridays, and he said there will be no red wave. He said if you just look at the registration of women since the reversal of Roe, he said this is a real effect, and you're going to feel it. And young people. He also pointed to that demographic. So there was evidence out there, but you're right. The polling is so horribly flawed. I want to ask you about this piece that you have at dcreport.org, and of course, David. Pulitzer Prize winner, best-selling author, and a co-founder of DC Report, singular, dcreport.org. And then I will promise, before David leaves, I will ask him about the weather in Rochester. Trump took tax losses that he knew were fraudulent. And I wonder if you could sort of break this down, because we see the dump that was all of these the taxes that finally have been released, in drips and drabs, and then now this breakdown that you've provided, and you suggest it's a very basic scam that he was running.
So in the years 2015 through 2020, when Trump was a candidate for 2 years and president for 4, he reported positive income, money flowing into his bank accounts of $152 or $153 million. But his tax returns on the last line of the front page, that's what's called adjusted gross income, the last line on the front page of your tax return, he reported negative $53 million. So how did he turn this gain into a $200 million wipeout? Well, some of the techniques he used are lawful. There are ways that I've written about for years that people, particularly in real estate, can make money off the tax system, because we have rules, especially a rule Donald Trump lobbied Congress for in 1992, that allow real estate developers to live tax-free if they're smart and they know what they're doing, or have good advisors in the case of Trump. But Trump did something else. He didn't limit himself to lawful ways. And I think the most important one, because it's easy to get a jury to convict on, is that on 26 different filings over those 6 years, he reported he had a business that had no revenue, didn't make any sales, but took huge deductions, huge expenses. Now, why is that significant? Because in 1984, Trump did the same thing. 1984 was his biggest year up to that point. His first casino just opened in Atlantic City. Trump Tower apartments were selling like hotcakes because he didn't ask who you were. So all sorts of mobsters and other unsavory people who couldn't get a place in other buildings in Manhattan were paying really big prices compared to other places. And he filed what's called a Schedule C. That's the tax return for a sole proprietorship. That's what my writing business is, a sole proprietorship. He filed a Schedule C with zero revenue and over $600,000 of deductions, which would have saved him at the time, at the federal level alone, about $220,000 in taxes. He got caught by auditors for New York State and New York City. He appealed. There were 2 trials. He lost both. The judges wrote scathing opinions of what he was doing and imposed penalties and interest. And in one of the 2 cases, Jack Mitnick, who had been the Trump family tax lawyer and tax accountant for decades, was shown the tax return in question and asked about its authenticity. And he looked at it, and it did not have what's called a wet signature mark. That's where you, with an ink pen, this is obviously digital, you had to, with a blue or black ink pen, sign your name, attesting to your tax return. It had a photocopied signature. And Mitnick looked at it and said to the judge, "That's not my signature. Neither I nor my firm prepared this tax return." In other words, Donald Trump is a forger. Surprisingly, he did not get referred for criminal prosecution for forgery. But what's significant is, having been told that technique, claiming you had a business that there's no evidence it existed, had no revenues, no receipts, no calendars showing appointments, trying to get clients, no indication of expenditures to earn money. That's fraud. He got told that twice, which means he's on notice. And to do that 26 times as a candidate and as president is clear and persuasive evidence of criminal tax fraud. And the point I make in the column is that if you bring a kitchen sink tax prosecution of all the bad things he did, jurors might get lost in the esoteric world of tax. Tax is hard.
Yeah.
But if you just brought a case on this and maybe the fake charitable deductions he took, juries get that, and you could get a conviction easily.
The reluctance to do that, David, is associated with just the institutions of the presidency, right?
I think that is a distinct part of this. But, one of the questions people are asking on Twitter, where I linked to this, is why didn't auditors catch him? Well, the way the IRS works, if you audit someone who's cheating, but after you audited them, they would still have negative income, that means no money's going to come to the government, and the auditor doesn't get rated for bringing in money, for successfully finding things. So long as Trump has a negative, what's called a net operating loss carry forward, there's no point in auditing him. There may be more money for the government, but it would be years down the road. And then secondly, and I'll have a piece about this shortly, the most recalcitrant, uncooperative, non-compliant taxpayers who are rich, if the government comes and audits them, they just immediately spend money making life difficult. Well, we can't find those documents. It's overly burdensome. Let's go get a judge. Why should we have to produce these records? And they just chew up resources. So what does the IRS do? Well, it does what all bureaucracies do. You go after the easy, low-hanging fruit. It's easier to catch a ring of bicycle thieves than a ring of dedicated fraudsters who lift money from you in sophisticated ways. So that's what the police do. And the IRS are the tax police.
Yeah, that's really, when you put it that way, it's, you'd think they want recalcitrant. You're right, is a ding word. You'd think they'd want the Moby Dick kind of, you know what I mean? The big takedown. But you're saying no. It's just why?
When they get a big case, there's a multi-billion-dollar case going on. Almost always, every big case I've looked at in detail, it was a spurned spouse or mistress or business partner who got cheated, and so they took all the records they had and went to the IRS. It's not from audits. And that's a really important point. I see on the screen people have asked a couple of questions. If you can go back one or two, Mark.
Yeah, I'm not. I don't know who's putting them up there. Is that Albert or Kim or? But I don't know.
I mean, the Republicans so far have given Trump a pass. I agree, although they're starting to try and pull away from him. Sadly, they should have stuck to their guns on January 7th, but they didn't. When will the IRS commissioner be fired? Boy, that's a really good question. Since 1924, because of two scandals, the famous Teapot Dome scandal and a different scandal involving a Michigan senator, Congress has had for itself, through the tax committees, the right to inspect any tax return, a right the president has always had. Donald Trump could have just written a short note to the IRS saying, I want David Cay Johnston's tax return, not even explaining why, and they would turn it over. But they didn't turn over Trump's tax returns when requested by Congress. Trump kept saying, well, this is political, it's this and that. He created the grounds for this. He said he was being persecuted by the IRS for being a Christian, and that as president, he was being treated unfairly, which absolutely means Congress should be investigating. And the decision not to turn over the tax returns, if we had sworn testimony, I am sure would be at the feet of Steve Mnuchin, the Treasury Secretary. But under the regulations, it is the IRS Commissioner, Charles Rettig, who was supposed to turn them over. Charles Rettig is the first person to be IRS Commissioner whose previous employment was helping tax cheats avoid indictment and to pay less money than they really owed, the very kind of thing I described a moment ago. And he could have resigned in protest. He could have gone back to his multi-million-dollar annual practice and said, much as I've been working to straighten the IRS up as best I can, and I think he's been pretty good at that, he didn't resign, which means he's complicit. And this was simply a lawless administration. And they did not audit him except for 1 year after the House Ways and Means Committee Chairman Richie Neal asked, was he being audited, because the law says the president and vice president will be audited each year. And then they only had one auditor who was not allowed to talk to any of the specialists. The IRS employs all sorts of specialists, people who are deeply expert on history, engineering, chemistry, things they would need for tax returns. And he was barred from talking to them. So it was a fraud, not an audit.
Well said. The other thing that was bizarre is the audits that went down for Wray and for Comey, which defied supposedly random audits, yet they show up on these two guys who became Trump adversaries. What's the way Trump saw them anyway?
Well, the official position of the government is that both the Congress and the executive is, it's just random that these two people were picked for an exceptionally rare kind of highly detailed audit. And the first thought I had about that was that years ago, there was somebody who won a big gambling game. I think it may have been a super bingo in Reno twice. And this was back in the 70s when I was in San Francisco for the LA Times. And it very quickly developed that, well, no, the fix was here. We had somebody who won one of the big national lotteries a few years ago twice. And again, the fix was in. And to think that these were really random and that was these two critics of Donald Trump who got put through the ringer had in the kind of audit that James Comey, the former FBI director, and his successor went through. You literally are asked to produce a check or receipt for everything you have. If you were to have taken the earned income tax credit because you were in the working poor and you brought your child's report card to school and the record showing your address, they would say, no, that's not adequate. You need to get sworn statements from neighbors and people in the building and bus records to prove your child actually lives with you, not with somebody else. I mean, these are my first front page story in the New York Times was about what are known in common parlance as audits from hell. And they're ostensibly done for research purposes. But in this case, I'm sorry, I'm a skeptic.
Yeah. It was. It seems that skepticism well applied. It's Comey and McCabe, by the way. I think I said Ray. Yeah. All right, quickly, the weather in Rochester, what has it been like? Tell me.
Well, in Buffalo, which is an hour west of me by car, it's absolutely horrible. I believe the death toll is now over 30. If you go to my Twitter feed at David Cay and go down a couple, you'll see a beautiful photograph that one of my daughters-in-law took of a bull's head nature created that they passed as they went from the Toronto region down here on the day before Christmas or Christmas Day. In Rochester, I can see my lawn. The snow is all over in Buffalo. And in Syracuse, 80 miles east of here, where I teach at the law school, same thing, a lot less snow. But for people in Buffalo has already received this year, or Orchard Park, where the Bills Stadium is, more than all the snow it normally gets in a season. Yes, on the screen is this wonderful photograph. If you scroll up a little bit, there you go, a bull's head that nature crafted with wind.
Yeah, that's wild. Look at that right there.
Very cold here. Unfortunately, I forgot to take the pump for my waterfall in my gardens out, so I probably have to buy one in the spring.
If that's the biggest casualty of the winter, you've done well compared to most others.
All those deaths in Buffalo, many of them we're going to probably find out were preventable if people had listened to the advice. When the authorities tell you because of a rain or wind or snow, don't go out of your house, go to a building, listen to them, follow the advice. Yeah.
All these families that are stranded in cars, I shouldn't say all of them, but many of them shouldn't be in the cars to begin with. DCReport.org is where you can read David's stuff. Great piece on the Trump taxes that breaks it down in a way you haven't seen anywhere else. He's here on Tuesdays with us. David Cay Johnston, the Pulitzer Prize winner. Thanks, David. Happy New Year.
Thank you, Mark.
All right. Good times.
The Mark Thompson Show.
And now, how about it? Speaking of taxes, this is what I was saying to Steve last hour. Steve Moskowitz, everybody. I mean, we just discussed so many different things related to taxes, but one of the things that relates to all of us is that David was making the point that the IRS really isn't even incentivized to go after some kind of complicated, big ticket offender or fraudster. They're more incentivized to go after people like me, people like us, those who are average small business owners, those who are average sole proprietors or filing individually. It's just far easier, and they take the path of least resistance.
The type of audits, they were talking about the audits from hell. The formal name for them is TCMP, Taxpayer Compliance Measurement Program. So what happens is all of our returns go through a computer program called DIF, DIF, Discriminant Income Function. And the computer takes 66 different categories and scores them. You get points. Points in DIF are like points in golf. They're bad. It's like a turkey having Thanksgiving potential. So the more points you get, the more likely you are to be audited. But from time to time, they do these TCMP audits, Taxpayer Compliance Measurement Program, where they audit to test how well the DIF program works. That's what he was talking about. Those are very, very detailed. Most audits, there's a lot of things that, they're reasonable. They go and not every penny. This, they want every last little thing. But what happens if you get involved with any auditor and he or she is being unreasonable with you and won't let you make your case? What do? That auditor is not judge, jury, and execution. You just say, okay, you're too tough for me. Issue your report. Then what'll happen is they'll issue a report and they'll send a letter saying that you can still provide some more stuff. But eventually you'll get something called a notice of deficiency. Notice of deficiency gives you 90 days to file a tax court petition. Mark, for all 50 states, there's only 19 presidentially appointed tax court judges. They travel around the country. And what happens is, so the taxpayer's lawyer says, I don't know it. The IRS lawyer says, yes, you do. The judge never sees either one. The clerk of the court sends it back to the local area for a settlement attempt. And then you deal with the settlement officer. The settlement officers, in fairness to everybody, they are far more empowered to an auditor to make a deal. They're also far more extensive, where they have a lot of authority to make a deal that the auditor just doesn't, because the auditor is more of a light switch, yes or no. The appeals officer, he can say, well, okay, this is reasonable, or take your word something, because their job is to keep tax attorneys out of tax court, or the system would never work. That's like criminal plea bargaining, where if everybody exercised their right and say, I'm going to have my day in court, which you're entitled to, the system would so bog down that nobody would ever have a trial. So these people are far more experienced. They understand stuff. And then you still, if you agree with them, and a lot of times you can agree with them there. If you don't, you have a second settlement attempt with the IRS attorneys. And then if you still can't agree, that's when you go to court. But one of the things I'd like to say in this long-winded explanation.
No, this is great, actually. Fascinating. Go ahead.
If an auditor is being unreasonable with you, he or she is not judge, jury, and executioner. You go right over their head. Now you say, well, the accountants do it differently than the lawyers. The accountants go directly into the appeals person. Why do you spend the $60 to go to tax court first? There's two procedural reasons. One, once you have what's called a docketed case, that means you file a petition with the tax court and it goes back to the appeals officer. Any new issues raised by the government, the burden of proof shifts from the taxpayer to the government, so they usually don't raise them. And secondly, statistically, with the accountants, that's it. That's the end of the road. And although oftentimes the appeals officer will give a better deal, the statistics show that docketed cases, they just give a much better deal. So that's why, knowing the way the system works, yes, you can go directly there, but you're better off going through the tax court for numerous reasons. And again, nobody should be intimidated by an auditor. He or she is doing their job. But if they overstep, then the bottom line is you have a lot of rights. You just have to know that you can exercise them, and that's how you do it.
That's great. And that's one of the great things about the depth of knowledge you have. I mean, as we've said before, you're not just an accountant, a tax accountant, but you're a tax attorney. So you're the guy, and probably overqualified for many of our situations, but able to bring those qualifications to our situations in ways that I think we've just never experienced before. So for all these reasons and more, many of which I've detailed, you can speak to Steve Moskowitz about anything, whatever your tax situation is, whatever mistakes you may have made. He's seen them, he's heard them. 888-TAX-DEAL, 888-TAX-DEAL. I love your expertise as it applies to what we were talking about with David and beyond. You're just such a great resource. 888-TAX-DEAL. You can also reach Steve online. It is MoskowitzLLP.com. You see it on the screen, MoskowitzzLLP.com. MoskowitzLLP.com. Steve, love talking to you, and thank you. That was an actually fascinating explanation, and I appreciate it very much. Thanks.
My pleasure. Always love talking about taxes.
Okay, Steve Moskowitz, everybody. Right on, right on, right on.
Hey, which one do you use, Mark Thompson?
Use Mark Thompson.
The Mark Thompson Show.
We have Kim's news upcoming, and then I have uncovered a special Christmas message that you'll want to hear from Alex Jones, everybody. I know you're everybody's favorite. Yeah, it's pretty out there. Hang out, and I'll show it to you. Yes, it's not just audio, it's video. So if you're watching, I'll have it. If you're listening, you'll want to grab the YouTube stream. Because it's pretty much worth it. I mean, he's very on brand, Alex Jones. Meantime, smash the like button like a boss.
With your iron rod.
Hit the thumbs up if you would. I also want to tell you about Paxlovid. There is breaking Paxlovid news. You know, Paxlovid is the effective medication used against COVID.
Right.
It was also associated with the rebound. You know, most everybody I know who had the COVID and took Paxlovid got the rebound. So, you know, you're done with COVID real quick, and then all of a sudden COVID hits you again. This is not about that. I'm just identifying Paxlovid, but I'm identifying Paxlovid because there is a breaking news Paxlovid story. So I've got your Alex Jones, your Paxlovid, and then I'm going to serve the pièce de résistance, you know, like the big finish is sex dolls. So I know that, I know. I thought I'd get your attention on that. So all of that still to come.
Hey,
yes.
Before we do news, can I show you a picture?
Oh, please.
Would that be okay?
Please, please.
Show you this
Is the sex doll
photo.
segment starting early?
That is not of the sex doll. No.
Albert, thank you.
Yeah. Wow. What that is the man cave of man caves, or the cave of caves.
I'll show you the message that came along with it.
All right.
Okay. It came into Mark Thompson, themarkthompsonshow@gmail.com. Lori writes, because we have cats, our tree goes in the man cave where the cats are not allowed unsupervised. This year, I decorated it red, white, and gold to bring luck to the 49ers. That was the day Garoppolo got hurt and Purdy had to take over. Now we call it the Lucky 49er Christmas tree is 5-0, and I am not allowed to take it down. I honestly don't know how long it will be here. Thank you all for working through the holidays, bringing great programming. Yeah.
I love
it's fantastic.
It is fantastic. Yeah,
I think you might have to keep that 49er tree up in the man cave garage there, at least through what is the Super Bowl in late January, early February.
Yeah, that's right.
Feels great, baby.
Yeah, you got to do it. It's if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Look at that garage, though. Isn't that cool? They've got.
I love the space heater there in the lower right.
Yeah, it gets chilly in the man cave.
It does, you know. Also, the cyclist in the family. Pretty cool setup, actually. What's in
also,
that?
There is a cat on that chair.
Yeah.
The cat's not allowed unsupervised, you see.
Oh, unsupervised, yeah. By the way, what is that cabinet with the Niners helmet? Do you see that in the...
It looks like memorabilia. At first, I thought maybe it was a mini fridge, but I think that it's good. It's like, you know...
Yeah, the thing in the middle says Giants and Yankees, so I'm guessing...
Oh, so it's a sports memorabilia thing.
And those two up on the top shelf look like magazine covers.
This is at a garage on the North Bay. Look at all those lazy boy Barcalounger looking chairs.
It's
they've got
great,
going.
man. It looks comfy, and it looks like they've got a bar or something to the left. Yeah.
This all looks great, but the TV's a little small. I feel like you got to squint your eyes a little bit.
Well, there's another TV. There are two TVs.
Yeah, there's the bigger one.
Oh, yeah, the upper
There's
right.
a big one upper right.
This is a gambling cave.
Yeah, you can.
I can't believe you're complainative about the man cave. Really?
And that's a safe on the right, isn't it?
Mm.
Is that a safe on the right?
Is it?
I love what we're dissecting his garage.
This is what happens when you send a picture. We break everything down. But I think it's really cool. You can watch two games simultaneously. So you've got the big screen and the smaller screen. It looks like a really cool series of things they have up on the walls. You know, they have banners and posters that look really intriguing. Like I'm curious that there's a black and white poster behind that big screen. I don't know what that says.
One flew over the cuckoo's nest.
Somewhere in
Oh, it is one. It's one flew over the cuckoo's nest. Okay.
Nest.
Yeah, that looks cool. Yeah. Oh, I could do this all day. Anyway, very cool. Yes, thank you. Yeah, good stuff.
Thanks for the picture, Lori.
I love it. Thank you, Lori. If you want to send us anything, you can always do it. TheMarkThompsonShow@gmail.com, as Kim said. TheMarkThompsonShow@gmail.com. As we continue, Mark Thompson.
What happened to her? She went away. The Mark Thompson Show. It is indeed. And I'm Kim McAllister. This report sponsored by tax attorney Steve Moskowitz at 888 Tax Deal. Well, officials in New York are raising the death toll to 28 after winter storms buried the Buffalo area. Erie County Executive Mark Poloncarz urging people stay home. That's as crews are working to clear the roads, tow abandoned cars. Nationwide, more than 60 deaths are blamed on severe winter storms over the long holiday weekend. Here in the Bay Area, we are getting, I guess you could say we're getting slammed by a winter storm. This is heavy rain, coastal flooding. Forecasters are calling this a potential Category 4 atmospheric river. Flood warnings are in effect through this afternoon for San Francisco, Santa Cruz, and other cities around the Bay Area as well. There is a Big Five sporting goods in the Bay Area damaged early this morning as the powerful storm rolled through. Fire crews responded to the Big Five sporting goods store on Crow Place in San Ramon to find that the roof had collapsed. No injuries were reported. Unclear if this collapse was caused by the weather, but heavy rains and strong winds were happening at the time. So now they've got civil engineers and PG&E investigating, and they're asking the public to avoid that area if at all possible. Twitter's latest update rolling out a new view count feature. Some users say they don't like it. The feature shows how many times a post has been viewed. While that information, it used to only be available to the account holder. Twitter CEO Elon Musk said the social media company will add a setting to turn it off, but he says, nah, come on, everyone's going to grow to like this feature. What are you guys thinking? You're going to love it. Okay, we'll see. Police in California arrested a man who is now accused of trying to con folks with phony parking tickets. What? Yes, the reports of 19-year-old Damian Vela left fraudulent tickets on vehicles in Santa Cruz, along with a QR code linking recipients to an online portal where they could make a payment. Vela was arrested last week. Police say he admitted to giving out the tickets. He denies taking any payments. But look at that, fake ticket versus a real ticket. And if you were a tourist, you might not know the difference there. I don't know. Avatar, The Way of Water. Turns out more than 10 minutes worth of that movie had this gun violence that had to be trimmed before the release of Avatar, The Way of Water. Director James Cameron said he cut the scenes from the film because it made him sick to his stomach. He said he tried to find a balance between light and dark, given what is happening with guns in our society. And it turns out that a new survey finds more than half of American adults go to the bathroom to be alone, not just because they need to go. The one poll survey found 51% of adults in the U.S. go sit on the toilet so they can have some peace and quiet. And it happens more often when there are more people in the house. Parents with kids living at home are 3 times more likely, 62% to 23%, to go to the bathroom to be alone than single people who don't have children. But
That's a great picture of mom in the bathtub with the computer. Love it.
You know how I like a good room. If you're going to go hide in the bathroom.
Wow.
Like, let's go in style. You got to have a nice bathroom, right? Like, if you're going to go, there's a little chair in there for you, a little desk.
Oh, my God.
I mean, if you're going to go hide in the bathroom,
I'm sure. Yeah, that's pretty funny. I love that.
Oh, my God. Oh, my God. Oh, my God.
Exactly.
This report sponsored by tax attorney Steve Moskowitz. For more than 30 years, Steve has put his tax knowledge to work for both individuals and for businesses. If you need help with your taxes, Steve's at 888-TAX-DEAL. He's also at moskowitzllp.com. I'm Kim McAllister on The Mark Thompson Show.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Who's Mark Thompson?
Feels great, baby.
Let me kick down the door and talk to my cheap sons and daughters. No context will suffice to explain the hurt and anguish caused by my words. I apologize to all who have been hurt.
I stand corrected. I misspoke. My words upset so many people.
And I wanted to apologize to the Asian community, the Asian American community.
God bless America. The end.
There's never been anything like this. Do I hit it long? Is Trump strong? Huh?
Who is having that conversation?
It's fantastic.
That's not fake. That's real.
The science is ridiculous.
How would you handle this? We could try ignoring it, sir.
If you get it in order, you get extra points.
Listen to me. I don't want to hear you.
You cannot say you love your country.
Where are my weed smokers at?
This is a word from the Lord, and he's not happy.
There is no defense for my conduct. It was wrong, it was stupid, and I'm trying to be a better person.
Don't ever use that word. You get nothing.
What's a guilty pleasure you have?
Seriously, what the
What up, everybody? It is our big December 27th show. Glad you could be here. I got to know. Well, thank you. Thank you. I don't know what to say. It's overwhelming. But I've got the whole crew. Albert is here. Albert, you have ready to go my...
Albert, thank you.
Or Tony, you have ready to go my Alex Jones Christmas greeting that I... Okay, in a moment we'll have that. Kim is here. You just heard her news. And Tony.
Thanks, Tony.
Yeah, Tony is on top of it. Tomorrow we will formally give shout outs to a bunch of people who have stepped up and supported our show. You know, we've been demonetized on YouTube because of that clerical thing. It's not related to content in any way. It's YouTube is just putting us through the
ringer.
Through the ringer. I mean, yeah, it's brutal. And I'm in touch with them constantly. And I've been in touch with them through Twitter. I've been in touch with them through email. But rather than share my entire nightmare, I'll just say that, you know, because we're in a free fall on YouTube, you can't leave us super stickers. You can't leave us super chats. The only way that we're supported is if you go to the website, themarkthompsonshow.com, and you click on a donation. You click on contribute. So you'll go to Patreon or you'll go to PayPal. And it's simple. And actually, it's better for us, but it does require a couple of clicks. So, appreciate everybody who's done that, and tomorrow I will formally. Oh, there it is. Thank you so much, whoever did that. Tony, I believe that was.
Thanks, Tony.
Yeah, that's what it'll look like when you go to the website. Okay, themarkthompsonshow.com, and you'll see contribute to our Patreon or help support via PayPal. So you can go to PayPal. You just put in a credit card number. It's a one-time thing. Not going to hassle you. Blah blah blah. You can also put in a monthly. If you can support us all the time, that'd be great. Sadly, we need your support because we don't have a ton of commercials like we did on KGO. KGO had a blizzard of commercials. I did a 2-hour show on KGO. If you listen to the podcast, it was an hour What? How long is the podcast, Albert? With the podcast for KGO, when
Probably
we did
like
2 hours,
8 minutes and 10
20?
seconds.
an hour. Oh, hour. You think it was an hour 20? I was going to say more like Kim. Yeah, an hour 108. You think it was maybe 120?
Yeah, actually, that's more correct. An hour 8. Yeah.
So I think, to be fair, they take out some of the news things too. So maybe that. But my point is, I know it is. I can't imagine that they would do that, but it is that's what.
What?
I know. I'm sorry. I'm just saying that's what they did. I didn't decide it. So in this case, we don't have the blizzard of commercials, but we also don't have any of that financial support. That's why we ask you to support us that way. And until we get our YouTube back up, so we're not monetizing this at all. And honestly, that costs us a lot of money. We were doing really well. We came right out of the shoots. And you didn't have to do anything. You only had to watch, and we got all that YouTube money to support us. Now they've taken that YouTube money, they're holding it, and they're saying not only can we not have that money right now because there's clerical error, but we can't even get any more money through monetization of any kind until this clerical error is resolved. So that's all. Everything's going on. Tomorrow we recognize many who have stepped up and helped out with Patreon and PayPal while we're getting that all together, and on an ongoing basis. We need you to help. So I know this is true. KGO's commercials were ridiculous. Each 30 minutes had about 12 minutes of talk between ads, news, and traffic. That's exactly right. So I know. I always like the shout-outs. We're going to do the shout-outs tomorrow, as, again, Tony has put together the list of those who've really stepped up and made a contribution through Patreon and through PayPal at themarkthompsonshow.com.
Thanks, Tony.
So we'll have those, and so those shout-outs will return. PayPal's been great. PayPal is, it's simple. If you're not a PayPal member, you just enter your credit card. If you are a PayPal member, of course, you can just move money over. So thank you. So I wanted to get to, is there any other? Oh, Alex Jones. Okay, great. The holidays are special. They're special for, kids of all ages. And for Alex Jones and his many viewers and believers, he had a special holiday wish as well. I feel like we should have some, like Christmas light music playing underneath the... Yes, that's exactly what I'm thinking. All right, now let's give me a little Alex Jones's thing.
I want to wish you all a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. We will defeat the New World Order. We will defeat Bill Gates and Klaus Schwab. We will move forward because humanity has a destiny to be victorious and do incredible things together. So God bless.
Yeah, there you go. We will defeat the world order. That's great. Yeah.
That won't be on the Mark Thompson Christmas card next year.
Yeah. Roses are red, violets are blue. Right. We will defeat the New World Order. But we will need you. Right, exactly. You will. Oh, gosh. Anyway, yeah. So that was Alex Jones. There's no off switch on hate, So, hey, to his credit, he's made that hate work for him. But then, of course, what he did to those Sandy Hook families. But it's beyond that. I mean, he doxes, he goes against his enemies in such horrifying ways. It's really pretty brutal. Meantime, on the other side of town, there is this. Epic Games is going to pay $520 million over children's privacy and trickery charges. Epic Games, they created Fortnite. If you have kids or you have grandkids or you have nephews or nieces or you yourself love Fortnite, that's one of the Epic Games. And Albert's probably our resident gamer. I think Tony and Albert are right, Albert? You're a gamer.
Albert, thank you.
You enjoy gaming.
I dabble a little bit.
Yeah. And Tony, you do also.
Thanks, Tony.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I have all the consoles and
Fortnite became a cultural sensation, mostly teenagers and children in the sensation category, while others may have played it. It was easy to sign up and start playing, and you could chat and text through the whole thing. So that is pretty cool. Kim, in your house, was Fortnite a thing?
We're not Fortniting. We don't do violent games. Mm-mm.
Well, hundreds of dollars.
It was a free-to-play game at the start, so it was really interesting for everybody to get into it. But then they, just like every mobile game, like if there's games on like a phone or an iPad, they survive off microtransactions, and this is what the lawsuit's mainly about. They're targeting kids and making it really accessible to get mom's credit card to pay for a lot of these things and
It's
in-game
true.
purchases.
My nephew was like consistently asking my sister, can I buy this? Can I buy this? Can I buy this? And every time she turned around, she was buying some other character or tool on Fortnite. So, yeah.
Well, the
I think
agency
Fortnite is still a free game. Yeah. It's just, all made, it's all microtransactions and everything.
Right. The platform is free. To play the game is free. But to get the things, the microtransactions you're talking about, that's, nickel and diming your child and your family through the entire process.
Yeah. The funny thing is, it's all cosmetic. It's not even performance based. It's not for you to do any better. It's just so you could look good in the game.
Oh, is that right? It's all
your friends have this cool thing. Don't you want this thing too? It's like that. Are you using a default skin? Oh, dude. it's that kind of stuff.
That's really wild. That just speaks to the power of vanity.
Public shaming, yeah.
Yeah. Well, the Federal Trade Commission yesterday accused the company of illegally collecting children's personal information, of harming young players by matching them with strangers on Fortnite while enabling live communications, and separately of using manipulative techniques called dark patterns to trick millions of players into making unintentional purchases. This is a little of what you're talking about. This is a historic deal. It puts the entire video game industry on notice. Epic has agreed to pay a record $520 million in fines and refunds to settle the FTC's accusations. So they'd rather just pay it than take them to court. Protecting the public and especially children from online privacy invasions and dark patterns is a top priority for the commission, said Lena Khan. She's the chair of the FTC. And this is all about the Fortnite case. Epic Games said in a statement that it had instituted multiple children's privacy and purchasing safeguards over the years, and that the practices referenced in the FTC's complaints are not how Fortnite operates. All right. Meantime, Paxlovid is the drug I was mentioning to you a few minutes ago. You take it for COVID. It knocks down your symptoms pretty effectively, but oftentimes can be associated with a rebound effect. Nearly 6 million Americans have taken Paxlovid for free because the feds are paying for it. Same way the feds paid for your COVID booster and your COVID vaccination. The Pfizer pill has helped prevent many people infected with COVID-19 from being hospitalized or dying. It may even reduce the risk of developing long COVID, they say. But the government plans to stop footing the bill within months. That's right.
What?
Yes. And this just in, when you pay for the bill will be high. That's right. The governmental plans to stop footing the bill within months will leave millions of people who are high at risk of severe illness and least able to afford the drug having to pay for it and pay the full price. I'm looking for the actual price, though. They say, I think it's $530 a piece is what I saw. The U.S. government has so far purchased, here it is, The U.S. government has,
right?
The U.S. government has so far purchased 20 million courses of Paxlovid, priced at about $530 a piece. I see, and you're saying it's going to quadruple on that? That's a discount. The $530 a piece for the Paxlovid pill is a discount for buying in bulk, which I just said the government does, right? They buy, 20 million doses. But the shots will quadruple in. Those are the shots. The COVID vaccine shots are going to quadruple in price. But what is Paxlovid going to sell for, Albert? Did you see that?
No, I only saw the shot. The shots will go from $30 at $120. So let me just look for that other price.
Yeah, but Paxlovid is going to go way up. I saw the $530, but that's the price of it now. So, look, if it doesn't go up in price at all, that's still a big number, $530. But it is going to go up because that's the number that the government is getting because they're buying 20 million doses. But the amount of Paxlovid that now will be consumed by those who need it will probably go down. And they say those who need it the most may not get it because of this increase in price. We have our best people on the hunt to find out. I think they may bury it. Maybe they bury the cost. They haven't come out with a quote necessarily. But these are among the therapeutics. The therapeutics associated with COVID, this might be it. $2,100 a patient.
Ooh.
Yeah. Is that possible? That is just insane.
What?
I know. Medications are so worthwhile, said a doctor who weighed in on this issue, a health official in Massachusetts. But the grand scheme of healthcare costs may lock a lot of people out. That's really
you're looking correct. $2,100 a patient, and it's not just Paxlovid. So it looks like this: the government will also stop paying for the COVID vaccine next year as well, and the shots are going to quadruple in price from the discount rate the government pays of $30 a shot to about $120 a shot. Yeah. So that's something else to consider as we kind of try to roll out of this whole pandemic.
We told you that.
Mode.
We told you. We said, get it if you're going to get it. Okay.
Go get it.
Get it now while the government, Uncle Sam, is underwriting the shot. Look, I've gone to get the tests. They ran out of the free test and the sunset on the free test for a while. Now they started them again. But so you had to go buy the tests. And I got about $110 worth of tests. It's just like 4 tests. It's expensive.
Really?
And then the government sent me, I signed up once the government reinitiated that program. But this stuff that's dealing with COVID, and now that COVID is a part of our lives, it's going to cost some money. So now, can I give you now our lead story?
Please. Are we talking sex dolls?
Please don't spoil it, Kim. It's almost a major announcement kind of category.
Okay.
But I don't have the major announcement.
Boom, boom, boom. Major announcement.
Thank you very much. That'll do. All right. Thank you. South Korea lifts the ban on imported sex dolls. That's right. Yeah.
We've been waiting for this. Yeah.
There had been a ban, I know. South Korea has formally lifted a ban on the import of full-body sex dolls. The sex doll is the one on the left there, for those of you who are watching on YouTube. Not the left now. That's Kim. Okay, the picture was what I was talking about. Not the sex doll.
No,
that's it. That's the picture. Yeah, there she is.
Yeah.
She looks ecstatic about the news.
Girl, you just woo.
Although there are no laws or regulations banning the import of sex dolls, hundreds and perhaps thousands have been seized by the customs agents. They cite a clause in the law that bans the import of goods that, quote, harm the country's beautiful traditions and public morals. So it doesn't really, it doesn't relate to any kind of specific carve-out for sex dolls. They've just been kind of doing this at customs. Importers
smuggle them out.
Investigation on these customs people's houses. I think I know where they're all going.
I'm betting that they're ending up there also. That's exactly right. Importers complained and took their case to courts, saying that they sent this stuff to customers that ordered them in South Korea. They weren't getting there. They say that they're being used in private spaces and don't undermine human dignity. These are the importers who say that. Well, yesterday, the Korea Customs Service said in a formal statement that it began enforcing a revised guideline for import of life-size adult sex dolls. It said it reviewed recent court rulings and opinions from relevant government agencies, including the Ministry of Gender Equality and Family. They say it will still ban the import of childlike sex dolls or other embodying certain people, but other countries like the United States, Australia, and the UK also ban childlike sex dolls, but still, now they are loosening restrictions on the use of adult sex dolls. And the formal decision is, I'm just looking to see when it takes effect. Is that immediate, Albert? Will the ban be lifted right away? I think our South Korean listeners and viewers want to know, when is the ban being lifted?
Albert, thank you.
I'm sure. Let me look into it. But it didn't specify in this AP piece. But I'm sure it's sometime soon since it's in the news.
Yes. Customs officials said they still likely hold more than 1,000 sex dolls. And as Albert says, I know where they are. They're at the homes of customs officials. That's right. This is all since 2018. If you had a sex doll, unless it was disguised in some way, probably wasn't getting to you since 2018. Be sure your sex dolls are American made, says Eric. Andrew, people are so gross. Well, I never shame the kink. Whatever your kink is, it's sad, I guess, on one level. Or is it? I don't know. I think it's a.
Girl, you just woo.
I think everybody's got their thing. I don't know.
I have a moral problem, and I know they're not real children, but I have a moral problem with the child sex dolls.
Oh no, of course. But that's different. That's
Yeah.
different. I mean, that's completely ugly and weird and awful. So, can we embrace the goodness of this? That those people can finally get their, get their freak on without the morality police involved.
All right.
Yeah. So, but we all agree, of course. Kids, come on. And finally, the most expensive place on earth is the happiest place on earth. Disneyland is selling $185 Remy Martin shots served in a tiny waffle cup. That's nearly the same price as the park entry ticket costs. $185 shot is offered at the Grand Californian Hotel and Spa.
It's my favorite place.
And Disney fanatics can get a taste of the tiny portion of alcohol from the $4,000 bottle of Remy Martin Louis the 13th. What?
Let me set
Louis
the stage for you.
Tony knows
I've had it once.
Wow.
One of the best drinks I ever had.
Wow.
I would never, if you would ask me to name the person on our show who's had this, Tony would not be the guy. I probably would guess Albert, maybe.
Thanks, Tony.
Yeah, I think Albert is the one I would have guessed.
It's a $500 shot. Just for a shot of it is $500. And that was a couple of years ago. So
wow.
So the bottle's crystal and all that. And, yeah. It's not even a shot then. That's like less than an ounce then in that glass.
It's offered on a special holiday cart that it's at Disney's Grand Californian Hotel and Spa in Anaheim, Southern California.
It's the fancy hotel. That cost about, it's actually the shot would be nearly what it costs to stay there, $500 a night at least. And it's, but they have in the lobby this roaring, massive fireplace area with all these rocking chairs that are cozy. So you get your cocktail, or in this case, your very expensive shot, and you go sit by the fireplace on a winter night when the rain is pouring outside.
Oh, yes, when you put it like that.
Yeah.
Sounds so good. Yeah.
Nothing. I was running that show. It was a show I was helping out with.
Huge in Japan's far too bougie for me. I'll do maker's shots on Rivers of America from my flask.
Yes.
I love that. Nice call. Yeah, very well done. Well, I believe, and on this, I have to ask you to
smash it with your iron rod.
Smash the like button on your way out here, because I believe this is the end of the show. Yeah. Just for the day. It's not the end of the show forever. No, we'll be back tomorrow, in fact. In fact, tomorrow, Albert, what do we have tomorrow? We have some guests, or what do we have?
We'll try to do our weekly California Playbook catch-up.
Oh, yeah, California Playbook. Shadow Stevens will come visit live at some point this week as well. And Nikki is back on live. She's got a pretty cool show. What's on Nikki's show?
Talking about the weather, of course, Southwest Airlines. Apparently, Whoopi Goldberg in trouble again.
Oh, no. Say it ain't true. Oh.
My bad. I'm sorry. Yeah. My bad. I'm sorry.
I was being corrected.
I stand corrected.
Yeah, you misspoke, Whoopi. Right?
I misspoke.
Oh, yeah, okay, all right, yeah. You want to apologize to the Asian community?
And I wanted to apologize to the Asian community, the Asian American community.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea always. So Nikki's show follows. She's back live, and she's got stories from Christmas too. So
I'm Shadow Stevens for the Mark Thompson Show. Bye-bye.
The silver-throated Shadow Stevens. All the time. Bye-bye. Thanks for all the ways you support us, guys. Love you, and until tomorrow, bye-bye.